Hi guys, today I'm just going to do a quick video on scams to look out for when you're buying plants online. There are loads of reputable places to buy plants online, but we always seem to end up going to Etsy, and that's fine. Like, there are some really good plants you can buy from Etsy. I especially like Etsy for common cheap plants that are a little bit better. Like, I got a really good golden pothos from there, and you might be like, what makes a golden pothos really good? And it's just more variegated than they normally would be, and it was just a cutting and it was like £3, and I don't know, I just really like that kind of. I like cheap plants, but often you kind of stuck with whatever. I don't know, I liked it, it was good, but there are loads of scams on Etsy. The reason I'm doing this video is I wrote an article today about growing Monstera from seed, and growing Monstera from seed is one of those things you would only do it for the experience of growing a Monstera from seed. There's no reason, it's not cheaper to grow one from seed, it's just, you know, a fun little project. The hardest part about it, Monstera are pretty easy to grow from seed. The hardest thing is actually getting the seeds. Because if you go on Etsy and search for Monstera seeds, right, I've got it here. This is what happens when you search for Monstera seeds. Now this one is the first one, and from what I can gather, it's legit. Is it that one? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's legit. So they've got 21,705 sales, 5-star reviews, and if you look at the comments, there's actually like the reviews. You can see there, they've actually got evidence that these Monstera seeds are Monstera seeds. However, if you, let me see, look at all the other, or most of the other examples, they're all just pictures of variegated Monstera. And so we've got 20 plus Monstera variegata Thai constellation seeds, £9.82, 10% off. Now, these are not variegated Monstera seeds. Variegated Monstera, I'm not going to say variegated Monstera seeds don't exist, because they clearly do. In the wild, you get variegated Monstera. They will have grown from seed. There's nobody out there propagating plants in the wild that I'm aware of. But it's extremely unlikely, and you can't. Say you bought a variegated Monstera, it fruited and produced seeds, and you managed to get those seeds fertilised. Is that how it works? No. You have the fruit, you fertilise the fruit, and then you get seeds. Yeah, I don't really. You would have a variegated fruit and the seeds would be variegated, but if you planted those seeds, they wouldn't necessarily produce variegated Monstera, they'd just be green ones. So the variegated seed is recessive, the Monstera is not interested in it. We are, but it doesn't benefit the Monstera. So long story short, if they say it's variegated Monstera seeds, it's probably a scam. Not only will you not get variegated Monstera seeds, you probably won't get green Monstera seeds. You'll get some kind of, you'll just get a seed. Was it this one? I've got one here where this is from, this is a 100 Monstera aurea variegated Monstera albo yellow, live plant seeds, rare deliciosa variegated plant, £9.38. This is a picture, Monstera aurea seeds. And they do sprout and they did send seed, but this is what, I mean, they are variegated in yellow, but they're not Monstera. As for Thai constellation seeds, from all the evidence that I found, and I've done a small amount of research, so Thai constellation they were lab created, and all of the other ones are clones. And they do fruit and they do produce seeds, but the seeds are sterile. I assumed at first that they're sterile because they've had shit done to them. You know, they've had their genes altered, so they're sterile. But then there was a little tiny cynical part of me that's like, if you're going to make a variegated Monstera that doesn't revert, you're not going to want other people growing it from seed. So I don't know if there's something they can do to make it sterile. Either way, you can't get variegated Monstera seeds that you can guarantee are variegated. Another thing that I've seen along the same kind of variegation vein, obviously variegation is seen as being the thing, but quite often you'll see thrips damage as Variegation. I actually don't have one to hand, but when thrips get onto a plant, they suck all the chlorophyll out and it looks variegated. It looks ill. It doesn't look healthy. So if you see a plant and you're like, and also it's not white, it's just a paler green. And often what happens is, so thrips like juvenile plants, like juvenile, young growth, the new growth, and quite often when they're still unfurled, when they're still furled up, thrips will get inside and start sucking their juices out, just because the leaves are softer, so it's easier for them. Then when they unfurl, you'll see like straight lines of what looks like variegation, but it isn't, it's just thrips damage. Another common scam isn't really a scam, it's just a little bit harsh, and that is plants with really low variegation. And whether they revert or not isn't really the issue, because all they're saying is that the plant is variegated, and it's, if you've got a highly variegated plant, it could still revert. It's more that you don't know what's going to happen, they don't know what's going to happen, so I don't know, I kind of think that it's a little bit like they're preying on people. Also, the photos rarely match what you're actually getting. When you look at variegated Monstera photos, there's so many like perfect half moons, or like completely white leaves, or a plant that has like 5 completely white leaves and it just looks perfect. And they edit them so that basically they turn the saturation and the colouring. They turn the saturation and the colouring. They put like a blue filter on them so they look really white. In reality, white plants take a lot of effort and like perfect conditions to stay white. They just tend to go like brown after a while. A really highly variegated plant is as useless as a really low variegated plant. What I would do is just check the reviews. Some places, the way Etsy works, the reviews are often like, so they've got 10 products, the reviews for all 10 products will appear under like one product page. So what some like scammy accounts do is they will sell products that get good reviews, things like prints. You can just tell by reading the review that it's not a plant. They'll say like it arrived like flat packed, or just, I can't even think of an example, but you can tell from the reviews that they're not actually reviewing the product that you're looking at. So just be careful of that. Look for pictures of the actual product, and also if you're spending a lot of money, or really anytime, message the seller and make sure you're getting the actual plant that they've taken the photo of. Or if they haven't, if they've got say 100 Monstera, they're not going to take a picture of all 100 of them, so just ask for a picture of the one you're going to get. There's no reason why they shouldn't give you it for the sake of an email, especially when you're spending a lot of money. And always read the description. I mentioned before about companies selling prints. Just check that you are getting what you think you're getting. Prints, that's less common. I think that people must have like got onto that and realised that wasn't a thing. So you would think you're buying a plant, and everything about the description would suggest that you're buying a plant until there's a sentence right at the end, and they write like a whole essay so you can't be bothered to read it all, and it'll say, by the way, this is a print, not a plant. A little bit like digital downloads. Good Etsy sellers will make it explicit from the start that you're buying a digital download, because I prefer digital downloads. It's not like it's a bad thing, it's just two, you know, a hard copy and a digital download are two completely separate things. So they just want to make sure that you know, because it's not worth their bad reviews. So you just make sure that you read the whole thing. And if you think it's too good to be true, it probably is. Things like Monstera Seeds, you're not going to get them in a pack of 100. There aren't that many around, and if you are, expect to pay up to like over like 30 quid for them. The cheapest ones I've seen, I think, they tend to run about £1 each. It's certainly not cheaper than just, you know, if you got 15 seeds for £15, you may as well just buy a plant, unless you specifically want 15 Monstera, or you want to grow, you know, the experience of growing one from seed, but it's not like a cheap option. Another thing that you need to be wary of is wet sticks. Wet sticks are a perfectly like normal way of buying plants, and there's nothing like dodgy about it, but it is a good opportunity for scammers to scam. So you need to check the returns policy, check that they will deal with, like, look at the reviews, see how well they dealt with stuff. I wouldn't buy a wet stick unless I had already got experience buying them, but quite often people will put rooted cutting, and what they mean is it's a wet stick with an aerial root. Often the scammy type people it'll be like a dried out aerial root, which can do things but are unlikely to without like another root system. Feel free to email the seller and ask for a photo. If they won't send you one, that's all the red flag that I would need, because for the sake of, you know, taking a photo, and that kind of thing should happen. It should be like part of the selling process should be that people will say, what is this? And you'll send them a photo for the sake of, you know, 2 seconds. The other dodgy thing with wet sticks is you don't always know what you're getting. One wet stick looks very much like another. I know from, basically when you buy wet sticks, label them. You need to come up with a labelling method. Otherwise you end up like me. I quite like it. I like the surprise of not knowing what my plants are, but you need to kind of remember what it was that you bought and then remember to check off that that is in fact what it grew into, and just check with the returns policy that that is something, like a good seller should be mortified if they send you the wrong wet stick and swap it for another one if it's grown into the wrong plant. The problem with wet sticks is a lot of people look after them wrong, and they die or dry out or something, and then I can see a seller will be like, what, that's not, I sent you a perfectly good wet stick and you dried it out. But if it's the wrong plant, they really should just swap it for you. One scam I'm going to touch on, but for reasons I will explain, it's kind of less of a scam now, and that is selling Monstera obliqua. There used to be a hashtag that was basically it's never obliqua, but sometimes it is now, and there is an obliqua in my local garden centre. I think it was about 250 quid, and it is an obliqua. So now I can't say it's not obliqua. What I will say is that the whole fake photo thing is definitely still going on. So if you buy an obliqua, get them to send you a photo with the one you're getting and just check it's not an Adansonii, because that is still a pretty common thing to do. But people are selling obliquas on Etsy non-scammily, so you can buy them from there. Other things to be wary of are plants. This is for like newbies, but coloured plants. It used to be pink, now it's purple. A lot of these, they're still running the old print scam, so you think you're buying a purple Monstera and it's not, it's a picture of one. The photos of these are, they're pretty good. You can't really tell unless you read like the whole blurb they've got. But you don't get purple Monstera. Monstera tend to only come in planty colours, so green, yellow, white, you know, leaf colours. You're not randomly going to get like a purple one in there. Are there any purple aroids? Did you get purpley alocasia? Editing Caroline. There's loads of purple aroids. There's like reddy coloured ones, like loads, but there aren't purple Monstera. And if there are, there aren't. And if they ever make one, it'll be massive news. You won't miss it. Another thing not to do, again, newbies, don't put on Etsy rare plant. They're almost never rare, or they're rare. No, they're almost never rare. They're just like, often they're weird plants that there's no market for, that the sellers are trying to get rid of. And commonly it's plants that, I've seen it happen a lot with succulents. They'll take a really close-up picture and make it look really weird. Is it Kalanko? You know when you only see words written down and you don't know how to pronounce them? And like mother of thousands, there's ways to take photos of them that they look really weird, and then you buy them and you're like, oh, it's a mother of thousands, great. So if you are looking to buy plants online, I wouldn't shop on Etsy for just generic rare plants. I would only go on there if I definitely knew what I wanted. If I'm looking to just browse, I'll just go to a garden centre. Or Pinterest. The thing about Etsy is it is a massive marketplace. The people that like rise to the top are the people that are very, very good at using keywords and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that there aren't legit sellers that are good at that. Like, a lot of my job is finding keywords. But that's how the scammers rise to the top with scammy products, is by just writing really, really good descriptions and like playing by all the SEO rules that Etsy has. Just be careful, and if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. Right, that is everything. I hope the light was okay. I had like a list of stuff to do, and I normally film first, but then my day gets away with me. So I filmed last and it was dark. It's like 3 o'clock and I've had to put my big lights on. So that was exciting. Anyway, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next week. Bye.